Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Vessalatu vesselamu ala seyyidina Muhammedin ve ala alihi ve sahbihi ecma'in. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to another session which we are trying to explore and unfold the meaning of a key to divine power. Alhamdulillah. We are studying from the book called The Letters, written by Bediüzzaman Said Nursi. So we are in the 20th letter and the second station, and the part which we were focusing is, which is the 10th word of this phrase. Let me, read it the whole, and then we can focus on the 10th one. So as just for the newcomers, maybe it's a refreshment in the first few minutes. And inshallah, we are going to read the third mystery again, and we will ask brothers and also our panelists for their contribution. So in the 20th letter, in the name of Allah, be He glorified, and there is nothing but it glorifies Him with praise. In the name of Allah, the merciful, the compassionate, there is no God but God. He is one. He has no partner. He is the dominion, and His is the praise. He alone grants life and deals death, and He is living and dies not. All good is in His hand. He is powerful over all things, and with Him all things have their end. So we are focusing the 10th word of these phrases, which is He is powerful over all things. And there are a lot of mysteries we want to unfold and understand and bring it closer to our understanding. And Alhamdulillah, we went through many of these mysteries. And last week we read it, third mystery, and we stopped there. We didn't have a time to discuss, inshallah. Today we will do that. And let me scroll up. Okay. So I would like to first read again for refreshment, and then inshallah we can discuss in more details. Third mystery, the fact that indivisibility and not being bound by space result in the utmost facility has this meaning. Since the all-powerful Maker is free of
Abi, we cannot hear you.
Oh, okay. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. The fact that indivisibility and not being bound by space result in the utmost facility has this meaning. Since the all-powerful Maker is free of the restrictions of space, He may be thought of as being present everywhere through His power. And since there is no division or fragmentation in regard to His essence, He can regard and act towards all things with all of His names. And since He is present everywhere and acts towards everything, beings and intermediaries and mass cannot hinder and prevent His actions. Indeed, there is no necessity for them to do so. Let us suppose there was some necessity, then things like electric wires, the branches of trees, and veins in human beings would resemble means of facilitation of the arrival of life and of swiftness in actions. So let us ignore the idea of hindering, restricting, preventing, and intervening, and say that there are means of facilitating, expediting, and uniting. That is to say, from the point of view of the obedience and submission of all things, submission of all things to the domination of the all-powerful and glorious one's power, there is no need for them. If there were some need for them, it will be as a means of facilitating. In short, the all-powerful Maker, Allah, creates everything in an appropriate form without trouble, without undergoing any process, swiftly and easily. He creates universals as easily as particulars. He creates particulars as full of art as he does universals. Indeed, whoever creates universals and the heavens and the earth must necessarily be the one who creates the particulars and animate individuals contained in the heavens and earth. It could be nothing other than him, for those tiny particulars are the fruits, seeds, and the miniature specimen of universals. Furthermore, whoever creates the particulars must also be the one who creates the elements and heavens and earth, which encompass the particulars. For we see that particulars are each like a seed and tiny copy in relation to universals. Since this is so, the universal elements and the heavens and earth must be in the hand of the one who creates those particulars so that, according to the principles of his wisdom and the balances of his knowledge, he can insert the gist, meaning meanings the samples of those universal and all-encompassing beings in those particulars, which are like their miniature specimens. Indeed, from the point of the view of the wonders of art and marvels of creativeness, particulars are not behind universals, neither are flowers lower than the stars, nor seeds inferior to trees. Indeed, the tree's meaning, which is in the inscription of the divine determining and is in the seed, is more wonderful than the physical tree, which is the waving of divine power and is in the garden. And the creation of man is more wonderful than the creation of the universe. The creation of man is more wonderful than the creation of the universe. If a Quran of wisdom were to be written in the particles of ether on an atom, it will far surpass in value a Quran of grandeur written in stars on the face of the heavens. Similarly, there are minute particulars that are superior to the universals as regards the miraculousness of their art. So maybe we can stop in the fifth one and we can go back to our third mystery. There is a lot to say, and inshallah we can try to understand together. So today in our panelist, brother Pauline Turner from UK, inshallah, and also we have the brother Brother Hikmet, inshallah. Please, I would like to ask for your contribution, and so far the third mystery. Okay. So Colin Hocam, are you available? I mean, from the third mystery, how we can understand it? Is there anything come to your mind?
Yeah, I'm at the moment retranslating the 20th letter, actually.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
I haven't got this far, but it's probably one of the richest and densest of the treatises so far. It's how can I say, it hasn't caused me the most headaches, but it's taken me the most time because it's so dense and it's so concise. And actually, what you're reading here in the third mystery, which is, I think, is it he has power over all things, is actually you can find this in previous sections. For example, his is the praise, where it says Lahum mulk wa lahul hamd. It's very interesting. He was saying that if you're not able to create all of the apples in the universe, then how can you claim to create a single apple? Because God is completely other, right? The complete otherness of God. Here, I see this is what's being juxtaposed, they're being put together here. The complete otherness of God and the complete dependency of all that is other than God. In other words, the creation. So he's saying, firstly, what struck me is if you can't create the whole of the spring, the season of spring, then you can't create a single flower, because for him, being completely other than the creation, being completely disengaged from creation and infinitely distant conceptually from creation, everything for him is the same, whether it's a single apple or all of the apples in the universe. So the idea that material causes can create anything is ridiculous, because they would have to be other than that, what they are creating, than that which they are creating. That's the first thing. The second thing is, when he talks about supposing there was some necessity for intermediaries, it's very interesting. When it comes, for example, to angels, a lot of people always complain that, why does God need angels to do things for him? But actually, God doesn't need angels. The question is redundant, because it's like saying that, when you look at the sun, you need a filter, right? If you're an astronomer, or if you're watching an eclipse, you need a filter to look at the sun. You can't look directly, you go blind, right? You can't look directly at the sun. You would need, on your binoculars or on your telescope, you would need a filter. Now, if I were to say, does the sun need a filter so that I can see it? That would be a ridiculous question. The sun doesn't need a filter. The sun is the sun. We need the filter, because without the filter, we wouldn't be able to perceive the sun. We would be blinded instantly. So these so-called intermediaries, and he mentions here, things like electric wires, the branches of trees, the veins in human beings, all of which are corporeal, they're flesh and blood, and they are necessary. We need them, because without material things, without corporeal things, we have no filter through which we can understand the names of God. So there is the absolute otherness of the Creator, and then there is that which is other than God that needs certain things in order to be able to perceive him. So we need bodies, we need flesh and blood, we need material things, which we call causes. But we can't say that God needs those things. He doesn't. Just as the sun doesn't need a filter, nor does he need all of these, electric wires, tree branches, veins in human beings. We need them. So that was also what struck me as I was actually before while I was translating, but now you've repeated this here. That's what struck me, those two things. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Colin Hocam, for your contribution. And the two things which Ustad is mentioning at the beginning is, indivisibility. It cannot be divisible, right? That's one thing. And there is not being bound by space. So how come these makes things very easy? I mean, do we have any example which we can conceptualize easily from our life? Because Ustad is saying these two things are making very easy, right? There is no division and fragmentation in Allah's essence, and His power can go everywhere. How can give us like an example? Hikmet Hocam, Nazif Hocam, or Mustafa Polat, if you have any ideas, any examples, please.
I can say a couple of things, brother. Yeah, just and when my understanding is that from the first part that the divisions and the fragmentations or indivisions. I think that the last week that we also mentioned about the sun light, and if you were to think about that, when you plant the different plant species in under the sun is going to be like present for eggplant, trees, orange, apple, and all of the things that you are planting. It is going to be that exactly exposed that, and then all of the plants is going to reflect based on their limitation or capacity. And the fragmentation is just the issue that when you look at it, if you have a small mirror, you can still have the sun, all the sun, not the fragmented sun, just the sun in that mirror. And if you have a bigger sun, you still have the whole thing, whole sun is in the mirror that you can see it. So basically, that sun example is going to be great in terms of like not divisions or the fragmentation of the light, and basically that each one of them is not going to restrict each other or prevent each other or intervene each other, but they are going to be exposed to the sun based on their limitation, their capacity. And this is just some kind of example that I can give you right now, and based on your questions, and or just a single question that you asked. But this is what I understood in the beginning, and I can still just continue the same thing they're sharing with you guys. And this is what I wanted to say. And then also, when you look at the whole cosmos, and everything is just helping each other, it's assisting each other instead of restricting or preventing or intervening each other. Think about it, that the sunlight again, when you have eggplant or pepper next to each other, none of them is going to prevent each other at all. They are going to, as long as the sun is just exposed to them, they will get it, and then they will just reflect that the sunlight based on their capacity. And I'll give you one example. For instance, lightning, that when we have the lightning or rod that we were saying in different parts of the Risale that we were talking about, is really required and necessary for the germination of the seeds. So that what it means is that everything from single particular to whole universe, each one of them, if needed, they do help each other. And because creation is like that Allah created that way. So this is just one example for the restriction, preventing, or intervening. Nothing is going to prevent, restrict, or intervene each other. Like I said, that eggplant is not going to say or cannot say, "Hey, the whole sun is mine. You cannot have it." To pepper, right? And then they are all going to expose the sunlight, and no divisions or fragmentations, as long as they are really what we call is that have an ability to just expose it. I don't know if I answer your questions, but this is all I can say now. In the sunlight is really clearly explaining everything to me. That's why I share that.
Thank you very
I
much.
can continue for other parts, but this is all I can say for your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very good points. And Mikmet Hocam, thank you very much. And I think Recep Bilgin Hocam, you raised your hands. If you would like to say anything, please, you are more than welcome. Are you on the line? Recep Bilgin Hocam. I think I saw a raised hand from the chat box. Okay. Yes, Recep Bilgin, raised hand. Would you like to say anything?
Yes, please. Brothers, when Quran said for Pharaoh, the earth and the heavens did not cry for him, in fact, maybe at the beginning it was not very clearly understood. But later in the modern times, in the Egyptian scriptures, it was found out that, I mean, it was written there after his death, the earth and heavens cried after him. And Quran was alluding to him in this way. In fact, I mean, as Hazreti Üstad says, they are all imitating Quran. I mean, the enemies and the friends are all somehow imitating, and Hazreti Üstad also imitates it in many ways. And there is something very subtle at just this point. He alludes to Aristotle's ideas, in fact, at this point, because he understood God as the first intellect, and then as it overflew, then the ninth intellect came out, and then in this way it came to our intellect that created this world. He had such kind of idea, somehow trying to, I don't know, it was not his exact intention, but somehow God was exalted. I mean, it was seen like that in later versions, but somehow he, let's say, excluded the creator from the universe. And this was not very simple idea, because it affected the whole, I mean, the philosophy, the world of philosophy throughout centuries, and even the humanism, like, let's say, humanism and other pantheist ideas just came out as reactions to these things. In fact, I mean, the basic point, it is the source of all of these problems that was understood in that way. They understood that, and throughout Christian history, it was understood like that. I mean, he was a kind of intellect. I mean, he was divided by the universe, divided from the universe. He was not somehow, let's say, intervening, not doing such things at all in this universe. And in fact, the idea of secularism exactly came from this source. And Hazreti Üstad here just somehow tries to correct these ideas, coming up with some other arguments that there is indivisibility in the universe. And in fact, he also has this universals and particulars idea. I am talking about Aristotle again. These universals and particulars idea just gave birth to some other ideas, that there are, let's say, high ideas, high things, higher creation and lower creation, or I mean, they put everything in the ranks. So in this way, I mean, this opened way to this divisibility of the universe. But Hazreti Üstad says the creation of human being maybe is somehow seems to be more important, maybe more subtle than the creation of the universe, and they cannot be divided into these fragmentations. That is not possible, because it has the same art. I mean, when you see the art there is the same thing here, and that is impossible to divide these things. In fact, I think while alluding to these things, he is also correcting the idea of the pantheism, for instance. I mean, as they were believing that the whole universe is the creator, but he says somehow all of these things help him. Even, I mean, there is his own individuality, and then the others even help his deeds in this sense. And correcting these things, he also corrects these ideas of, let's say, Aristotle and others coming from the past, I mean, that bequeathed to us from the past. And in fact, I also congratulate his Hazreti Üstad's courage at this point, that I can say he was the only person coming against these ideas with so strong argument. And I think these all need to be dug down to explore more things inside this one. And unfortunately, there is not enough time to mention all of these things. I will only mention so much and then stop him. Hopefully this helped, brothers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Recep Hocam, for the academical perspective also. Very rich information you shared with us. And one of the brother also mentioned in the chat box that the relation between the man's spirit, our ruh, soul, and our body is also explaining us, because our soul, when we look at like our body is, let's say, is a space, and our body is within, and it's indivisible. You know, we cannot divide our soul. Oh, a part of it is in my leg and another part is here. No, but through the power, the energy of the soul, it's everywhere within our body. And also, there is no like kind of a space restriction within the body of our soul. So Ustad explained also this one in the 31st window, second point, and maybe shortly we can also read that part to bring closer to our understanding. So this point to an important mystery of divine oneness, Tawheed, it is like this. The relationship between man's spirit and his body is such that it causes all his members and parts to assist one another. That is, man's spirit is a commanding law from among the laws pertaining to creation, the manifestation of divine will, which has been clothed in external existence and is a subtile dominical faculty. Thus, in administrating the parts of the body and hearing their immaterial voices and seeing their needs, they do not form obstacles to one another, nor do they confuse the spirit. Near and far are the same in relation to the spirit. They do not veil one another. If the spirit wishes, it can bring the majority to the assistance of one. If it wishes, it can know. If it wishes, it can know, perceive, and administer through each part of the body. Even if it acquires great luminosity, it may see and hear through all the parts. So this is a great example. I mean, like we have in the creation, in the universe, I mean, let's say the rivers or many, let's say, physical things which we see it. Even if you think like these are some of them obstacles, can Allah create instantly? Yes, but because of the wisdom in this dunya, it's an examination, testing ground. Allah puts these things. But if we have a concern about these, Ustad also saying that these are facilitating. Let's say the electrical wires. I mean, the copper wires is helping actually to make faster, connecting or conductance to the electricity. Or within our body, Ustad mentions the veins in human beings. These veins, Allah doesn't need to circulate the blood within our body, but He puts for a purpose. Even if we think these veins, they are not an obstacle, it actually facilitates. And the arrival of our life or swiftness in actions, these are actually all helpings. I mean, we cannot say that these are like restricting or preventing or intervening. And from the point of view, the obedience and submission of all these things which we see within our body, within the creation, and all-powerful Allah and glorious one's power, there is no need for them, as we said. But Allah employs them also, and they have a full obedience. And I think up to here, like we also thinking that the universals and the particulars, how we can, see it like there are very tiny particles, let's say atoms, and on the other side, the stars. We see a wondrous art. I mean, is it difficult? Which one is more difficult to make it? What we can say about this, I mean, how Ustad is using these examples, micro scale and macro scale, to show us like there is a quite easiness for this power. Mustafa Polat Hocam or Nazif Hocam or Colin Hocam, if you would like to share of your examples or ideas, please.
Yeah, sure. The soul example is very striking. I was going to speak about it, and you just read a passage about it, so it was really beneficial. It's just, as it's just mentioned in the paragraph you just read. You know, you can talk about in terms of physicality of your body. You can put it into, you know, different limbs. You have limbs and you have different particles. You have an arm, you have a hand, you have feet, you have a head, and these are particulars in terms of materiality. But when it comes to the soul, so this is just like a enfüsi tefekkür, a personal reflection. Your soul, if everybody thinks about how it functions, it's hard to describe, but you can feel multiple emotions all at the same time, depending on the situation you're in or what you're thinking of. And they don't intervene each other, right? So when the creation of Allah, it gets lighter, luminosity, nuraniyat, it has ability, so it becomes more indivisible. Together with that indivisibility, it also has the ability to reach through the time. Let's say you remember of an incident that happened like 10 years back, and you remember the event, and then the same feelings and emotions may arise inside of your soul again. So the soul is also not limited with the time. You have connection with all those time events that in the back in the past. So let's go to the macrocosm and think about light and or electricity you just mentioned. Electricity can travel so far distances within splits of a second, or the internet, or I just mentioned in the previous the last week's session about different magnetic waves and this and that. It just reminded me of an example. Let me give it that here without taking so much time. But I bought a plug, a plug actually, that connects to the internet, and I gave it to my father, and he has a house in village area in Barda, and he connects it to the electric plug, and then he can control it from his phone by just pressing a button, and then it waters the garden. So you can sit here and control something that's far away from you. And then just imagine if you have access to internet of the houses all around the Turkey or in the world, you can by just pressing a button, you can control everything in every house. That's possible with the ability that Allah has given to these magnetic waves and the way we use it, utilize it. So if these nurani creations of Allah, elements or whatever, if this is possible, how it's not difficult to just think of Allah's creation and His power. It's beyond our capacity to grasp it. But if Allah has given to these materials these much capabilities, it's not difficult to grasp, the unity. This is all Ustad's, I guess, effort is to make us easy to understand. The easiness, Ustad shows that the easiness is not in kufr, in denial, but the easiness is in Islam, in Iman, the oneness. And in different examples helps us understand it better. But unfortunately, surprisingly, actually, the scientific mind should be able to understand these better, but somehow they go against it. With the science, they go away from believing in Allah, and this is just surprising to me. That's just one bit that I wanted to share.
Colin Hocam, you raised your hand. Thank you very much, Mustafa, for your examples. This is truly enlightening. And Colin Hocam, please.
Just a very quick point. I think we have to be careful to make a distinction, as Ustad does, between soul and spirit. It's true that the soul is partially located in Alam al-Malakut, and it has immaterial components, but Ruh is completely in Malakut and is completely indivisible. Soul is not indivisible because it changes, so it's compound. Don't ask me how it's compound, but it is, so it's not indivisible. What connects us to everything is Ruh. The second thing is, Mustafa was talking about why do scientists not understand this? Because scientists, they don't use their intuitive intellect, they only use their rational intellect. And that's just a tool. And so unless the intuitive intellect is part of our heart, and they don't believe that you can have intellect in your heart. For them, the intellect is in the brain or in the mind. Even for Freud didn't believe in the soul, he believed in the psyche. And psyche actually originally meant soul, but now just means mind. So scientists basically are problem solvers, and they think in a horizontal way, in a linear way. And if they're not using their their intuitive intellect, then their rational intellect isn't going to take them very far. And Ustad has very interesting examples of this in Risalasi, where he's talking about the different groups who are trying to reach the truth. Some of them are tunneling underground, some of them are covering the ground, and others are flying through the air. Now, the analogy is quite straightforward, you know. To find the truth by tunneling under the ground, only 1 in 100 will find it. So this is what the scientists are doing. They're looking for transcendence, which is what everyone is looking for, but they're looking for it in under the ground. You know, it says in Quran this phrase, "Ikhlad il al ard." You know, they are inclining towards the earth. In other words, they're inclining towards materiality, and ikhlad actually means they're looking for permanence. They're looking for permanence in something that is material, and this is why they won't get it. They won't, you know, they won't realize or they won't reach that destination if they're looking in the wrong place. It's like you want to go deer shooting, but you go to the river. No, you won't find deer in the river, you know, and you won't find fish in the forest. So they're looking in the wrong place, and this is why they don't understand. And also, there is the question of not wanting to understand, which is a different issue. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Korihun Hocam. Nazif Hocam, I saw you raised your hand. Would you like to say anything?
Yes, yeah, thank you. Just wanted to say a couple things, and yeah, thank you so much. These are great comments, and yeah, I really enjoy listening to each and every one of you, and it's because like that's the reason actually just we're here. And I also would like I agree with Kunlujam and Mustafa Hocam. Just he gave great examples, and I would like to also take a little kind of just in a step and re-understand why we are reading, especially this 20th letter, and how to look into the question is, right? Like, because the real question, the Ustad, so when he wrote this treatise, the first station says, right, so the 11 phrases he gives, and then, of course, when he says affirming divine unity, and that containing some good news, right? And then he like says, like, Allah is cure. And yeah, just like Kolnajam just mentioned, so what the reason we are asking is we're asking, so where are we coming from? What is the purpose of this life? And what is our destination? So again and again, so these questions have been re-asked over and over, and it is somehow like it's been at the top of our looking ahead, and it is somehow like just giving us this curiosity and asking, trying to ask the right questions, and of course, these are all theoretical, but at the same time, as you just gave a question of like, how can we see this, and where are some good examples, because we would like to practice it, we would like to see the application side of it right in front of us, because clearly he says, yes, I am proving it, and here's the proofs that I see, and come and see with us. The reason is because what is the aim of this creation? I would like to, so like belief in God, like I would like to improve this my iman, right? So just the belief in God. And again, in the second station, so he reminds us one more time that the second station that which we are reading, that after he branches out all these phrase one by one, he says this is again proving the divine unity, right? And just showing the levels of the greatest name. That means that again, so we need to practice and learn all his names. And this 10th phrase that we just read, so وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ, and of course I'm an all powerful. So now just it gives me a responsibility to see his all the attributes and names. So if he's all powerful, how can I see it and how can I connect this to divine unity and all these examples that is being given, right? So again, especially in this part that he says indivisibility, and of course, it is an important part to see that. So when that again, it's reminding us. So that means every step and action that I take in life, every single minute, if Allah subhanahu, of course, we believe in Allah, like, we just mentioned. So because I'm trying to ask the right questions at the right time. So that means that this body has been given to me, and how can I see it, right? And he gave us all these examples. So now just my job is to try to learn all these attributes and names so that I can understand that, yes, he cannot be in one space. He cannot be contained in a space, and he cannot be divisible, divided and or something. So he doesn't have any just other gods that helping him. It just none of them, right? So neither the angels nor or this or that. So he's the one who is controlling his. So then just because I would like to see all these actions. So that means now my job is to learn all these attributes, right? All these names, to see it right in front of me so that I can connect these dots. So then there is no kind of room left for me to make a mistake while even I'm just uttering the words or just saying or trying to somehow talk to someone or any other kind of just situation. But that means it's in every single minute. So then we all have these the responsibilities, right? And of course, if chemically it is, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving me this oxygen for me to just breathe in and breathe out and use them to somehow utter the words, and all these blood being in a pump to veins that he gave examples, right? And at the same time, so just look the comparisons, try to see all these now just applications. So look at which names would go in a what and everything. So and at the end, so this is just powerful, very powerful actually. The section that just we just read here as the 10th phrase. So he is the one who is all powerful, right? So there is no room actually will be left after seeing all these universe and heavens. So that means, so if we just can open this, somehow push those that limits, and if we have the correct way of just that intuitive, we just said it, right? So looking intuitively, not using yes, science helps us to see all of this, but at the same time, that just that we need to support it with our belief. Yes, and now that I can see it, right? So so then I can see the divine unity with all these names and looking and basically just now indicating the right direction. So that's the point, I guess, that just what I understood seriously from reading, especially the fourth part. Not to just go away a bit, but again and again, so try to see why we're reading it and how we are reading it and how should we be looking at it. I guess that's what I understood. What Ustad is, I guess, trying to tell us. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Nazif Hocam. It's a very well raised also summary, and also the good points you made it. Inshallah, we are trying to understand the divine power. I mean, how it is administering, how he is making. I mean, but at the same time, the people who claim they're atheist, they find some tricky questions to actually fool our kids and some young generation to get stuck. I think the points which Ustad is making here very powerful. For example, some say that, I don't know, I would like to hear also from your approaches. Some say that can God create a stone which is bigger than him? Like they make this kind of problematic sentences and questions. And some people, because they cannot answer well, they don't know how they need to put in a phrase, and they get stuck. Maybe their iman, their faith is shaking. So how can we approach this kind of thing? I mean, if someone says like a bigger stone than him, how do we say? I mean, if someone is genuinely asking, let's say not to fool us, but we need to put some steps, right, so that this is not possible. How can we say this is not questionable? Colin Hocam, would you like to answer?
There are some things which are logically impossible,
Yes.
such as you cannot be a married bachelor. So if we say, can you be, for example, if you say to me, if I say I can do everything, I can be everything, I can be what I want. If you say then, well, you can't be a married bachelor and therefore you can't do everything what you want. But being a married bachelor is illogical. It's an illogicality. And logic, there's no such thing as human logic and divine logic. Human logic comes from divine wisdom. So Allah does not do the impossible because the impossible can't exist. So it's like saying, can God create something that doesn't exist? Or, for example, can God not be God if he wishes? And if you say that he can't, then you say, oh, then God must not be all powerful because he can't do what I've just said that he should be able to do. But what you're asking of him is something which is logically impossible, and God does not do the logically impossible because it cannot exist in any universe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is a very old issue that they bring up.
Yeah.
Can God create a stone so big that he can't lift it? The question is wrong. The trick is in the question, and the question is a spurious one. The question is an illegitimate question.
I mean, thank you very much, Colin Abi. I mean, as Ustad is explaining with many examples within these mysteries, it's not like a dry acceptance for us. You know, it's well explained. And the Qudra, I mean, Allah is Qadir. This is Zati. Nobody has given to Allah this thing. So if it's all powerful, we can say that its opposite, which is weakness, cannot be attributed to him. So Allah has no place or no spot, even in a small scale on his side. But if something has no opposite, then there will be no levels, meaning like bigger, smaller, biggest. You know, these things like for us in the physical world, right? Allah is not physical like us. He's not, you know, something like we can compare it. So these comparison, when someone doesn't know the attribute of Allah or his eternal part, maybe these things are giving them like a trap. So if you don't know well Allah, right, easily these tricky questions can trap someone, and then their iman, their faith can be shaken. So also, like, if there are no levels, and I think there is no invention, you know, like, is it too heavy or too light or these things? I mean, as Ustad is explaining with this sunshine example, or, you know, the spirit, we talk about it. All of these things, I think, give us like a clear answer that these questions are not like a valid questions, right?
But you would be surprised how many Muslims believe that Allah can do the impossible.
Yeah.
Because they will say, you know, "Wa ala kulli shay'in qadir." And, you know, if you say, for example, okay, can God make himself so small that he can fit in your pocket? They would say that is a shay. And if Allah is ala kulli shay'in qadir, then he can do that. I've had people say that. And then I'm thinking, you know, to what level of lunacy must you have gone to be able to accept something as ridiculous as this? This is not unbelievers talking. These are Muslims saying that
Yeah.
if God wishes, he can create a square triangle.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as a square triangle, you know. It's
Yeah.
it's as crazy as saying can Allah not be Allah if he wishes? Well, of course he can't. But as soon as you say can't, they say, oh, you can't say this of Allah because وَعَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. So it's not just we have problem with unbelievers, we have problem with Muslims who don't understand these things.
Yeah, there is a paradox which we need to solve. I mean, how we should approach to these things. Like there are no levels in Allah's power, and since there are no levels in His power, how do you make this kind of different degrees? And like His capacity is not like our capacity. We cannot make like, can it make in the size of my pocket or this way or that way. I mean, it's quite, as you said, even believers are imagining maybe the Satan is fooling us, and our nefs is also in different way is approaching and putting us in a miserable status. But yeah, I think I mean, what I feel like this 20th letter is very powerful. I mean, very comprehensive. It's not easy to understand, but Alhamdulillah, it increases our iman and our belief level. And those things, even we don't know many of the questions which they are throwing to the social media and around. And may Allah protect us, our kids, our generations, and everyone in the world. But I think there is a lot to work and study and also discuss among us, to really become a firm believer, right?
I think they will need to do something about social media because our children now, it's the first generation in human history that has not been brought up by parents. They've been brought up by devices and screens and social media, and it won't end well. So we have a duty, our duty is not to answer the stupid questions of unbelievers, really. Our duty is to save belief, which is why the Risale was written, and we have to follow in those footsteps.
Assalamu alaikum. I want to thank you both. It was a very nice summary and conclusion to me. Just brought to the mind that we just post on the chat part. We were talking about different philosophers having different ideas, and we start answering them from Quran. But at the end of the day, we have the creator of the universe, and we have the human being who is the Khalifa and who is the only creation that has the capacity to come to this world to understand the creator. So more than answering anybody else, as Colin Hocam reminded, as believers, how much we digested this and how much we are really using our capabilities in order to understand our creator. So first of all, again, this was discussed for weeks. We are the creation. We don't have a full capacity at all to comprehend the creator, but alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of his infinite mercy, trusted us some little samples of that trust that we feel like we own. We just have this experiences that we can make sense of the creator. Otherwise, again, our existence level is completely different. We are at the level of being a creation, and he is the creator. How can we really comprehend, make sense, and understand him? But again, out of his mercy, again, as Mustafa said, in this 20th letter, we have the sun example, we have the soul spirit example, all these things given to us. Maybe when we are asked why is the sun is there, or to enlighten the world, yes, but more than that, it is there, and it's getting into different phases and different forms. just to tell us about our Creator. And if you don't miss those opportunities, if you try to understand, looking at these works of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to understand Him, alhamdulillah, we're getting the best out of it. And Ustad explains extensively. We just posted a short part of it, but in reality, the real answer is Allahu Akbar. We are just the creation. How can we really, comprehend Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? But at the end of the day, again, the sole aim is to get closer to our Creator, not to answer anybody else, or, of course, as believers, we want to share this with others, and we want to, explain the foundations of our thoughts, and it's not baseless, it's not just a pure imitation. But again, we also should know our limits, and this was alhamdulillah, very nice summary and wrap up for myself. It has been discussed for weeks. I don't want to repeat the same things again, but alhamdulillah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Baykar Abi, for your insights, and it was a great also summary. A lot of points you made it, alhamdulillah. And this was a wonderful session. It's been almost an hour, and time flies, and we were not able to cover the fifth one, inshallah. And the following week, we can finalize by going through the, inshallah, fifth one. Before we do closure, anyone who would like to say, in addition, please, you are more than welcome. We are in the last minutes, inshallah. Anyone, Nazif Hocam, Mustafa Polat Hocam, Hikmet Hocam, would you like to say anything? Okay, I think for now we are good. And yes. Baykar Abi, can you make a dua as the final? Okay. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم من الحمد لله رب العالمين. Thank you very much for everyone. Inshallah, we hope to see you in the next session. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you.